Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you know how I bleed. I do this for my little boys, cause they look up to me. Cup real muddy and blunt real stuffy. I'm in here.
Again tonight at 6 in Douglas County, where a high school was put on lockdown after an officer-involved shooting.
Breaking news, a school was put on lockdown after someone with a gun was spotted near campus.
An armed man spotted on a Metro Atlanta high school campus prompts a lockdown, a manhunt, and it all ends with a deadly with law enforcement.
Stay on top of that breaking news tonight out of Douglas County.
The GBI is looking into a involving police that put a nearby school on lockdown.
Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. New Manchester High School held its Special Olympics event early that afternoon. It was at around 11:18 a.m. when school resource officers were alerted to a man with a gun, but the man would run off when resource officers tried to stop him.
School resource officers talking about a possible lockdown at Manchester High School. They learned there was a Special Olympics event being held at the school, and then a male showed up with a gun and fled from school resource officers.
The school went on lockdown after someone reported a man with a gun during a Special Olympics event. A Douglas County Sheriff's spokesperson says school resource officers made contact with the gunman who took off running from campus. Sheriff's deputies began looking for the suspect and recovered a cell phone that linked him to a house here on Ferncrest Place.
Jerome Orr says he'd actually just finished watching his grandson compete here behind me at Special Olympics inside the New Manchester High School football stadium. And he says that's when all of a sudden he saw a guy now identified as Stephen Blunt run from this gate with an officer right behind him.
Just seen a young man running. We heard the police officer say he has a gun. He right by us, and I was, it caught me off guard. 5 seconds after he ran by us, the officer came right behind him. Right before he went through the gate, his phone fell out of his pocket. The officer was right behind him. So I just picked it up and waited till the officer got through chasing him and gave him the telephone.
The sheriff's office says the cell phone led them to this home on Ferncrest Place, which is about 2 miles from the school. And what happened next was caught on a doorbell camera.
We end up putting K9 on the ground, and at some point when we found the cell phone, it led us to this residence. I'm not sure if that was the male or not.
Captain Trent Wilson says the man who answered the door at the home matches the description of the man at the school.
It was only moments later that police said that they heard some talk over the radio about a possible lockdown at New Manchester High School. They even brought in K9 units to assist with the search. Police say that they were able to track the man to a nearby subdivision, and they were able to pinpoint an exact house using cell phone data. Based on Ring doorbell camera footage, it was at around 12:11 p.m. when a man could be seen coming to the door when the police knocked. There was a brief conversation between the police and the man before shots were fired.
A man came to the door, there was a brief conversation, and gunfire erupted. Sheriff's officials say the man exchanged gunfire with deputies. The man was shot multiple times.
Investigators and uniformed deputies went to this address on Ferncrest Drive to make contact with anyone at the residence. A male exited the home, and a very brief conversation took place. At that time, gunfire was exchanged.
The man walk outside as deputies show up. It's only 16 seconds later, shots ring out. Now, we're stopping the video as soon as you see the man appear to pull a gun, but you'll hear the first shots fired between the suspect and a deputy.
Hello. Laura, how you doing? All right.
This is Ring camera footage provided to us by the woman who lives in the home. She would not speak on camera, but describes the man as a friend living with her. You can see a couple of sheriff's deputies speak with him briefly. The man then pulls out a gun and shoots. At that point, deputies back. Captain Wilson says it's unclear why the man was at the school, but a school system spokesperson says all New Manchester students and staff are safe.
And you can see evidence markers in the front yard. A typically quiet neighborhood filled with deputies for hours into Wednesday night, and what was a fun-filled morning over at New Manchester High School quickly changed. Now, the homeowner where this happened said Stephen Blunt was staying with her. He was considered just a family friend. Now, she says her son was actually competing here as well, which brought Blunt over here to watch her son compete. Now, as to why he was apparently armed, why he ran from officers, and why he decided to engage in this. That is something the GBI is investigating tonight.
It was reported that the man, who was identified as 29-year-old Stephen Blunt, pulled a gun and shot police during that conversation. One of the officers returned fire, striking Stephen. He was rushed to an area hospital where he was later pronounced deceased.
Well, it's still a very active investigation. In fact, in the last hour, more investigators are now on scene. They've been concentrating their efforts at this home just over my shoulder here. They've been going in and out of that door there for at least the past hour.
We were told by the man's family that he died from the injuries he suffered during that shooting with police. We've not gotten confirmation, however, from the sheriff's office. They're saying very little about what happened here.
I talked to a lady and she was saying that a young man ran behind her house, was at the school. So I'm like, well, I know that wasn't my brother because when he came out the house, he had on his robe and stuff. So I'm not really sure what happened, but I just know that an innocent person was shot. And I know once he was shot, they were still shooting him, and he was already down.
Police are not releasing any information at this time as to details surrounding this incident. They said that they could not tell us during the initial interview whether this individual was the gunman they were looking for. However, they did say that the person that was shot matched the description of the man who had the gun at the high school.
Hello. How you doing? All right. Hey, I'm investigator Hennon from the sheriff's office. What's your name? Stephen Blunt. Stephen Blunt? Yes, sir. All right. How long have you been staying here? I've been staying here for a while now. Okay. What you gonna do up to today? Next month, this year.
Now, I don't know what will possess this man to blow at the police like that. I mean, he was an aspiring boxer. And I mean, from the looks of it, he looked to be pretty talented. But I do find it kind of odd that they were able to track him to an exact house using cell phone data, because for those who are familiar with the system, I would like to know what type of cell phone data and what type of cell phone records are readily available like that. Usually there's a subpoena, warrant, or something of that sort that's needed to gain access to cell phone data. It also strikes me odd that one of the officers himself said that although cell phone data led them to that specific house, he wasn't sure if that was the guy from the school, but the guy matched the description. Now, I'm not saying that they got the wrong guy, because who knows what possessed this guy to let off shots at the officers the way that he did. But at the same time, there is room to question. But let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I'm coming with more videos, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one.
I'ma sip all night till the pain gone. I'm knowing that they hate me since I came round. I've been loyal as fuck to the end.